Greetings virtual wanderers, Aeon's here. 2025 is almost over, and we've put together a list of games ranked by their open world designs. Honestly, picking which ones to include wasn't easy. We've already done deep dives and quick looks at a few, like Monster Hunter Wilds and Borderlands 4, so if you haven't seen those, definitely check them out. This time, there's no theme tying the games together, other than the fact that they're fully open world. So before anyone asks, no, Mind's Eye doesn't count. That game's alternate mode feels like the devs accidentally left the open world part of the game in the debug menu. We just focused on what the games actually feel like to play them based on our 6 open world aspects. So we won't be looking at any of the game's story, core action, or graphics. Anyway, let's get straight into it. The first one on the list is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I have to say, this one hits different. You drop into a gritty, believable medieval Bohemia as a blacksmith's son trying to survive, not some highborn hero with magic powers. The side quests really stand out. Multi-part storylines can have you tracking stolen documents one day and dueling in tournaments the next, and the choices you make subtly shape how NPCs react and even influence future events. Crafting is just as engaging as well. Smithing weapons and armor, brewing potions, and processing meat all feel integrated, and seeing your creations actually affect how you perform makes it satisfying. What makes the game genuinely fun though is the hardcore realism. Managing your health, hygiene, and social reputation adds tension to every decision and makes accomplishments feel earned. The only complaints I have are that outside towns it can feel a bit empty, and NPCs' faces repeat more than I'd like. Plus, traveling between the 2 big regions requires a caravan fast travel rather than just walking to the other region. But the dedication to realism more than carries it, creating an A-tier open world experience you really feel while playing. Moving on, Ghost of Yotei's next. And this one really leans into exploration. You play a wandering warrior across 6 regions. From mountain peaks to wide plains, chasing myths, bounties, and tales that naturally pull you off the main path. First, we gotta talk about how progression is tied directly to exploring. Core abilities and companion skills only come from finding altars of reflection and wolf dens, so you can't just barrel through the story without engaging with the world. The music adds another layer too. Playing the shamisen guides you toward points of interest, so wandering feels purposeful and immersive without needing to look at the heads-up display. I also like how the charm system lets you tweak armor with charms for passive bonuses, letting you shape builds and strategies on top of your weapons and skills. It's a shy away from perfect though. Settlements feel a little empty, and the regions are split up rather than fully seamless. Still, the way it ties progression and exploration together makes it an A-tier open world. But it in no way compares to Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come wins by sheer dedication to its hardcore realism in all its mechanics in a way that Ghost of Yotei's samurai assassin built on explorative progression can't compare. Next up is Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and this one feels like nothing else out there. You step into a post-collapse world spanning Australia and Mexico that feels just a little bit disconnected, with the only means to travel between them being through fast travel. Here you play as a courier carrying cargo across vast, fractured landscapes while connecting isolated facilities to the network. The game's unique experience is built on how every delivery, stealth move, and tactical choice interacts. Moving through harsh terrain feels tense because the world itself is a challenge, and the trips carry weight thanks to the isolation, sound design, and sparse, minimalistic soundtrack. In this sequel, there are now vehicles you can upgrade and customize, which makes navigating the vast region smoother and adds a layer of strategy to planning routes. You can also build bases, roads, and bridges, which is pretty interesting, and these structures directly affect how you traverse and survive, letting you leave a mark on the world. It can feel pretty empty at times though, with no real NPCs and only static holograms due to the game's theme, and the loop of delivering cargo can get very repetitive. which will probably only click for certain players. Overall, putting it as the first C tier on the list. Now we go to an open world full of the undead, aka Dying Light the Beast. Here you're dropped into Castor Woods, a post-apocalyptic zombie-filled world that is completely seamless. And the game really shines when you're chaining parkour moves across rooftops, scaling walls, and vaulting over obstacles. That, paired with the zombie threat and first-person melee combat, makes every climb and leap suddenly feel tense and alive. You're probably wondering about the title, right? Well, you have the Beast mode now, which is fun to unleash, giving you over-the-top abilities that turn hectic fights into a visceral rush, even if the skills start to feel repetitive after a while. Here, weapon and gear customization is solid too, letting you tweak stats, craft mods, and personalize your loadout so every encounter has a touch of strategy. But settlements can feel a little hollow with mostly static NPCs, and the mid to late engagement dips when the Beast mode skills plateau. Still though, the mix of fluid parkour and intense melee combat keeps it entertaining and gives the zombie open world a B tier. Next up is Yakuza in Hawaii, and honestly, this one is pure chaos in the best way. You play as the usual Yakuza crew dropped into the Caribbean, hopping between islands, managing your ship, and getting into all sorts of ridiculous situations. 60% jokes, 40% serious, all supported by Majima showing up in Hawaii with amnesia out of nowhere, which almost feels as if the writers said, how do we make him even more unpredictable? And someone just yelled, delete his memory! Anyway, what really makes the game fun though are the side activities and the mini games, which are everywhere. Totally varied and often hilarious, from bizarre sub-stories to completely over-the-top challenges that feel like little worlds on their own. Also, this is the first Yakuza series that lets you choose, mix, and match clothes, which is great to see. The game can feel fragmented with all the islands and narrow pathways though, and the ocean between them can get lonely since there aren't any NPCs, like cargo ships or anything friendly out there in general. But the humor, quirky crew members, and dense side content make it a genuinely entertaining ride that doesn't take itself too seriously. Easy B tier here, and it definitely tops Dying Light. Its side content overflowing with humor, not to mention the pirate theme, is just hard to match up against a world that's just built on parkour and bashing zombies. So above it goes. Okay, quick break. How are you guys enjoying the tier list so far? Any placements you disagree with? Let us know in the comments or on our Discord, link in the description. Now, on to the next game. Next on the list is Atelier Yumiya, and this one is all about diving into crafting and exploration. You play as an alchemist traveling across a unified connected map filled with varied landscapes, open fields, ruins, and eerie areas, all while unlocking campsites and building them up for crafting and storage. The complex crafting and alchemy system is the heart of the game, which truly shows. It feels like you're experimenting with materials to shape weapons and gear from scratch. And not to mention consumables too. Seeing your creations actually impact combat and party strategy makes every gathering trip feel rewarding. And base building adds another layer, since arranging workbenches, greenhouses, and furniture isn't just cosmetic. It changes how efficiently you can craft and manage resources. It does come with the world feeling a bit empty outside settlements though, and the NPCs feeling mostly like accessories. But the combination of deep synthesis mechanics, party customization, and side quests makes exploring and optimizing your setups genuinely satisfying. With that, it lands a B tier. Where it lands between the other B tiers is the real question, and it's difficult to say. The well thought out mechanics of the game is a level above Dying Light, and Yakuza is a fun game to play, but Atelier presents a completely seamless world on top of its great crafting system, so it goes to the tip top of the B tier for now. now enters the infamous looter shooter, Borderlands 4. The game drops you on the planet Kairos as one of 4 vault hunters, each with unique skills, in a world bursting with guns, side missions, and dynamic encounters. Landing on Kairos feels different this time, with Borderlands 4 offering a seamless, fully open world where you can traverse massive zones without a single loading screen. Vehicles, ziplines, double jumps, and grappling mechanics make moving around the planet fluid and fun, while sliding, mantling, and mounts loosen the classic on-rails shooter feel and keep exploration and combat dynamic. On top of that, it maintains the insanely vast weapon and skill tree option staple that has always been fun. I do feel like the world could have had more fellow treasure hunters wandering outside of settlements though, and the way progression leans on better loot rather than fresh mechanics can make the grind feel repetitive. But the combination of FPS precision, endless loot variety, and a living open world structure carries it into the A tier on our scale. Now let's place this in between the 2 other A tiers, purely because the weapon system and seamless open world structure are above Ghost of Yotei, at least open world design wise. But it also still can't keep up with how well Kingdom Come ties every one of its systems together. Diving into Atomfall, you find yourself in a multi-segmented world. Set in post-disaster Britain, playing a lone scavenger piecing together leads from abandoned bunkers, cult sites, and ruined towns. What really hooks you early on is the scavenging and exploration. Hunting for supplies makes every trek across the countryside feel tense and rewarding, while side quests unfold naturally as you discover clues or what the game calls leads. But these are pretty much the only activities the game offers. The world itself nails a creepy pastoral vibe, mixing peaceful hills and woodlands with ruined, abandoned settlements. And I do have to say, the visuals on these landscapes are compelling, even if life outside of towns is almost non-existent, and traveling between regions on foot can feel slow. Not to mention, once you've explored most areas, the loop starts to wear thin. It's almost hard to say, but I'll have to put Atomfall in the D tier. Jumping into Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're dropped into the Kansai region of feudal Japan, switching between Naoi's stealthy approach and Yasuke's combat-focused playstyle as you unravel side stories and raid bandit camps or castles. What stands out early is the hideout system. Building multiple rooms, upgrading structures, and managing resources adds a surprisingly personal layer to progression, almost like a simplified The Sims. The world itself feels alive, with shifting seasons that transform the whole map's look. That, combined with the frequent wildlife, makes the overall scenery feel vibrant. Here comes the big downside though, which is repetition. Once you've raided a few camps and upgraded the hideout, the loop starts to feel predictable, and the map clutter full of shallow side activities and other icons make exploration more about ticking icons than genuine discovery. And just like many Ubisoft games, it's just a recycled version of Assassin's Creed with a different setting, placing it in the C tier. Now, the way Assassin's Creed titles have been in the past few or actually many entries, this one being no different, places the game behind Death Stranding. Before we start talking about the last 2 open world games, we've got a couple of honorable mentions worth checking out, even if they didn't quite earn a spot on the main list. We didn't want to leave out the Switch 2 crowd, so Donkey Kong Bonanza gets a nod here with its cave network, where you punch through the environment, shift terrain, and swap between animal forms to uncover playful surprises. But we felt that it's less representative of an open world experience compared to the main list, though it definitely still earns a mention. Just to keep the momentum going after Donkey Kong Bonanza, The Outer Worlds 2 shifts things back into sci-fi territory with its sharp writing, flexible combat, and player-driven faction choices spread across several handcrafted planetary zones. But since the ship-based structure makes it a semi-open world rather than one continuous space, it didn't make the main list. And coming from the same studio, Avowed leans into first-person fantasy with a mix of melee, magic, and flexible quests that let you shape your character and steer factions across its handcrafted regions. Depending on how much you value world interactivity and narrative depth, We're including it as an honorable mention for players who prefer focused RPGs rather than explorable open worlds. And if you want to dip further into the fantasy side of things, Tainted Grail is this lesser-known AA Skyrim-style adventure that blends strategic fights with a grim, moody world full of secrets, branching side quests, and strange lore tucked into each region. But since it's a lesser-known title, it didn't quite make the main list, so it sits here as an honorable mention just to put it on your radar. Okay, that's about it for the honorable mentions, but let us know, did any of them make you want to play them? Anyway, let's get back to the last 2 games. Talking about a world ruled by kaijus next, Monster Hunter Wilds drops you into the series' first fully open world, where everything unfolds seamlessly across deserts, icy cliffs, and scarlet forests. Riding sacred or trekking on foot, you gather resources and set up pop-up camps. At least that's when you're not swapping between weapon loadouts on the fly while you're riding. You're also able to cook food anywhere now, which we haven't seen in the previous Monster Hunters. Thus, you're always ready to fight with full buffs, making combat feel meaningful and rewarding as your preparation pays off in real encounters. I do have to say, where it starts to fall is the grind. Hunts can get long, and aside from monsters, it feels like a missed opportunity to fill the world outside with at least a few wandering hunters. Either way, the focus on a dynamic ecosystem centered around monsters makes every encounter feel intentional. And for fans of methodical hunting, crafting, and preparation, it's a world that delivers, in the B tier bracket at least. And by that, I mean at the very top of the B tier. It just doesn't feel right to put it anywhere below where it's supposed to be, especially when you're talking about a crafting, cooking, combat system that has been popular for generations. Onto the last game, and we're kind of cheating here since Oblivion Remastered is basically the original classic back from 2006, just with a new coat of paint and a reworked skill system that fans are split on. But we're still including it here because this remaster genuinely modernizes the game I played so long ago, and it still hits just as hard as it did back then. You roam a big medieval fantasy map as the hero dragged into the Oblivion Crisis, wandering between towns, forests, and dungeons however you like, with the freedom to ignore the main story for hours and still end up strong through faction quests and side paths. Crafting in this game stands out the most for me, since making smart gear and enhancements directly boosts how powerful you become and makes every dungeon run feel more rewarding. The world feels atmospheric with great music and believable NPC routines that stood out back when it was initially released. I just wish I had more friendly encounters while trekking between towns. Even with those gaps, the mix of deep customization, tons of side quests, and the simple joy of exploring at your own pace makes this remaster an easy A tier. What doesn't come easy is comparing this to Kingdom Come, but with a heavy heart, due to its janky AI NPC nature that simply can't keep up with the newer title, I'm gonna put Oblivion below it. To wrap things up, it's no surprise that Kingdom Come sits comfortably at the top with an A tier, with the legendary Oblivion Remastered landing right behind it. And then Monster Hunter Wilds claims the lead spot in the B tier as the series' first fully open world, followed by a lineup of 3 wildly different games filling out the bracket, not to mention 2 in the C tier too. And yeah, it's still a little shocking to see Atomfall end up in the D tier, but that's just how the score shook out. Okay, that's finally it. For real now, what do you think about our placements though? Is there anything you would change? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Or if you want to make your own version of this tier list, you can head on over to our website at GameTyr.com. And if you enjoyed us ranking games of the year like this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more tier lists in the future. In the meantime, I'll be lost in nostalgia, replaying Oblivion Remastered. That's it for now, and until then, happy exploring.